Peter, James, and John, and led them up a high mountain, apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no fuller on earth could bleach them. Then Elijah appeared to them along with Moses, and they were conversing with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Rabbi, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He hardly knew what to say. They were so terrified. Then the cloud came down, casting a shadow over them. From the cloud came a voice, This is my beloved Son. Listen to him. Suddenly, looking around, they no longer saw anyone but Jesus alone with them. As they were coming down from the mountain, he charged them not to relate what they had seen to anyone, except when the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept the matter to themselves, questioning what rising from the dead meant. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I have to tell you about a wedding I had today here at St. Joseph the Worker, and the wedding was for Don and Susanna, and they're refugees. And they just moved to this country in the last few months. Wonderful people, poor, and looking for work. She doesn't speak too much English at all. And they really wanted to get married so that they could receive Holy Communion. And they hadn't been married sacramentally. So very beautiful in that. And it was just a joy-filled celebration. And when we had all the snow, they walked to church for like a mile each way, because that was so important for them. Just really blessed by their lives. Lots of joy, and a lot of their community gathered around them as we had the wedding today. Went to the reception afterwards and started tasting these yummy, yummy noodles. And the person who was the translator who helped out a lot in getting this wedding set up said that the bride had made the noodles. It's her wedding day, and she's serving them. Everybody. What kind of joy is that? Putting others first. It's her wedding, the day you wait for all your life, and she's serving, and she's preparing the noodles for her company to eat. Deeply touched by that. I just wanted to share that we might be inspired to that same end, because that's what it's all about. I want to revisit a little bit of the homily that I gave on Ash Wednesday, because I think it's very helpful for us. But it's red light, red light, red light, green light. So on Ash Wednesday, propose that. If you ever played that growing up, red light means you stop in your position, and you stop talking, and you stop motion. And then when they say green light, you get moving again. And that's the whole purpose of church, and that's the whole purpose of Lent, is to say red light, and then to check out your position. It could be an awkward position. It could be an awkward position that you're in terms of sin, in your gossip or your relationships, whatever that might be, your addictions, what you're viewing on the internet, whatever that might be, and to look at that and to let God come and straighten that out. That we might be formed by the truth of God, because in a lot of ways we can easily become deformed without the form of God. And so it's all about red light. That's why we need church, not just tonight, but continually to come back to pray. So that we can say red light, and let's look at any deformities, and let's be formed in the truth of what God has for us. Let's be transfigured in that, in the gospel tonight. We see the glory that we're called to. So we take the red light out right now, and we say stop. And it's very important with the scriptures every day. Red light. Spend some time with the scriptures and let that truth inform us and form us in the image of his Son. So we have this story of Abraham and Isaac. It should bug you. It should bother it. It bothers us. It's dramatic. It's upsetting, it's unnerving, it makes you question, it makes you confused. What kind of God do we have? A loving God that would call his Father to sacrifice his Son? Is he that cruel? Is he that capricious that he would just change his mind on a whim and ask Abraham to sacrifice his son? So he asked him, and Abraham, they spend 3 days on this journey to Mount Moriah. Abraham knows what is being asked. Isaac has no clue. And then they get there, and Isaac says, well, what are we going to use for the sacrifice, Dad? And can you imagine what is going on in Abraham's heart and mind as he's trying to be faithful to God, and here is his precious son? And that's the only way that he is going to be seen as blessed, is if he has posterity, as he has future generation, and it's only going to happen through Isaac, and God's calling him to take his son. What is this? And what can we learn from this? What can we learn from this story of what God is calling him to do? This story was bigger than the Exodus story for the Israelite mind. This is really where it meets the road, right? Taking of your own son. So in this, we can ask ourselves, as we look at Abraham, and we can challenge ourselves, are we willing to serve what God asks us and how God asks us to serve, no matter what the cost? Or do we have a sin, like I want to phrase it, the sin of being the master? I am the master. I will say what goes and when that goes. Or are we willing, as the creature, to speak to the Creator, as the creature says to the Creator, what does it mean to be a creature in your creation, Lord? And how do you want me to respond to that? In this, there's things that we can derive from this story. That everything, because we are creatures, everything is a gift. All is gift. And someday, all the gifts, it will be taken away. Someday, the gift will be taken away. Think about the person on your right or your left, who's closest to you. Or think about who's closest to you in your heart. They're on loan. They're a gift. They belong to God. In our own lives, we're on loan. We're a gift. We belong to God. The question I'd like us to think about in terms of our lives, everything's going to be going back to God. The question is, will it be taken away from you, or will it be given from you back to God? Those are two different things. Being taken away from you, or you give that back to God. Now, a couple weeks ago, Greg, who's in the congregation tonight, announced to us that he was going to study for the priesthood. That was beautiful. I looked out across the congregation, and people were crying and very moved. And I think part of that was that Greg was saying, I am yours, God, and I